Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to the channel. It is Sunday morning and we're going to be talking about King Charles' trip to Australia. Now, so far, despite some, petty intrusion, it's been a success story. Him and Camilla have been met with huge crowds of people. The public love him. Seems to be a lot of public support for the king. Yesterday, outside of St. Thomas's uh, Anglican Church, there was just tons of people. They had a little walkabout. Charles signed the first Bible in the church, something that every royal has done, and indeed Queen Elizabeth back on her very first trip to Australia as sovereign. So, a lot of history there. And the crowds, loved them. They got quite a warm reception. With a couple of small exceptions, there is a group called Republic out of Great Britain, and they are Republicans, not in the American sense, in the British sense, meaning that they would rather the country be a republic than a constitutional monarchy. They would abolish the monarchy and get rid of the king, and much like the United States or other European countries, just elect a president. But I mean, it's not a huge throng of people. There's a few misfits that have flown over from England to cause, some disruption and some protest, but overwhelmingly the support has been very good. The other example so far that we've seen of just, disrespect towards the king and his visit to Australia is the fact that the 6 state first ministers, I guess premiers of the states of Australia, have refused to attend a reception for the king. However, a couple of them are going to be meeting him after the fact at different occasions, at different events. But off the shot, they're anti monarchists. It's just a political snub. It's a real childish kind of way to behave. He's come all this way. He is your head of state. He is your head of state. Whether you like it or not, you should show him some respect. So they're just being petty, you know? But even Charles, he can't. He's got to be able to understand that because, in fact, Charles has done much the same thing in the past. Oh, yeah. In 2015, Charles was criticized greatly in the press for snubbing then Chinese President Xi at every event, state dinners, everything. Yeah, he completely snubbed. He did not attend the state dinner or any of the events with the Chinese president, and the queen, one could imagine, was furious. There was quite a set to in the press about this whole thing. And you know what though? It wasn't the first time. No, back in 1999, he also boycotted a state dinner for then Chinese President Jiang Zemin. It's the same petty sentiments that we're seeing with the state ministers now. They really acting as their role as officials, they should show some respect. So, Charles is not unaccustomed to that. But anyway, despite all that, it seems to be going very well for them. Um, and the Australian government, the armed forces, has awarded Charles with some appointments. He's been made Admiral of the Navy, Field Marshal of the Army, and Marshal of the Air Force. And these appointments, much as what happens in Britain and even in Canada here, this really solidifies his position as head of state, you know, these appointments. So for him, that's a very good thing. And I think, you know, overall, it's going to be a successful tour, I believe, and do what it's supposed to have done, accomplished something. And what I think that is, I think, given the circumstances, you know, Charles's cancer and this kind of thing, I think that we can, in a way, compare this Australian visit to the Queen's decision at the end of her life to stay in Scotland at Balmoral, and I'll tell you why. For many years now, Scotland had a very strong separatist movement. They wanted to separate from the United Kingdom. The political party in power was determined to bring Scotland into independence, and they had referenda in Scotland. The Queen, uncharacteristically, kind of let her position be known about it. I mean, I think the first referendum in the 70s or 80s, I believe, the Queen kind of said to the Scottish people, you know, think very hard before you place your vote. You know, think very hard of the ramifications should they leave Scotland, you know. I mean, she couldn't come right out and say, don't, you know, you've got to vote to stay. The Queen was not supposed to get political, so that's about as close as she could do. And, you know, that's on her part was very interventionary. She wanted to get a message to her people. And here again, around the time of her death, there was the same kind of sentiment stirring in Scotland. And I think on her part that it was a strategic plan for her to stay in Scotland because do you see what happened when she died in Scotland? Then they had to have days of mourning and laying in state so the public could come. It extended the whole ceremony for like 5 days. Had she died in London, that never would have happened. And in an interesting way, you know, the Queen kind of knew what the outcome with all the events planned, and you know, the the laying in state and all of this, and the various church ceremonies, and the hearse parading up and then the drive back to London, the hearse, and all eyes would be on the Queen for that final week in Scotland, and everybody would participate, and that kind of an event had the desired effect. It brought everybody together. It solidified what the Queen thought, what they thought of the Queen, what the Queen represented to them, what the monarchy represented to them. So it helped a smooth transition to King Charles for the Scottish people for a time anyway. And, they've never voted fully the majority has never voted to leave. But anyway, it solidified in the Scottish people their love of the monarchy, their devotion to the Queen, and their trust in King Charles going forward. And I think a lot of the strategy with this Australia trip is the same. I mean, we know Charles is going to have a lot shorter reign than his mother ever did. He's got maybe a year to, I don't know. We've got the complications with his cancer. And one thing I've been saying all along, if you've been watching my playlist, King Charles III, Life Imitating Art, I think we're at a point, I think we're getting to the point where there is going to be a seminal event that pushes him off the throne, imposed by William. And this is what I think is what's going on. And this is the premise I've been working under. We're already seeing what you could call a soft regency conducted by William already in his taking decisions and things of that nature now. So this he's trying to do the same thing, is solidify the monarchy in the Australian public's eyes. And I think that's what this is all about. And from what I've heard, so far it's a success, and we'll just keep watching. Of course, we know after this he'll be heading to Samoa for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And I've already said what I think might happen there, so we'll have to watch and see about that. So all eyes on Charles for the time being. I'd love to know what you have to say about all this. Leave me a comment, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.